Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin on News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. And we're going to bring on our friend, the Car Pro Jerry Reynolds. Jerry, how's your week going?
Buddy, so far so good. I hope y'all is as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be completely honest with you, Jerry. I am.
Right.
I'm a little disappointed when I looked this car up. Because I was expecting the old, like the CTS-V, or was that right? What it called, CTS-V? And this just doesn't have it.
No, this is not that.
But they don't have that anymore, do they?
Well, but they're about to.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's a Cadillac in this model, the CT5, which used to be the CTS. They've got one called a Black Wing that's coming out. Should have already been out, but it got delayed because of the virus, of course. It's going to be much faster than the old CTS-V. This thing will be running over 600 horses. This car, this CT5-V that I'm driving right now, 365 horses, but 405 pound-feet of torque. I got to tell you, this car feels fantastic from a power standpoint. And I think it's just the torque that's getting it there. 2 turbos, and when those things kick in, this thing is really, really fast. The numbers don't look great, but it feels like the old CTS-V, if you can imagine that. But a very comfortable car. Really, this is 2 cars in one. You can have it in comfort mode, and you've got a really nice Cadillac. It's just a luxury sedan. But then you put it in track mode, and this thing becomes something really special. I really wasn't looking forward to this car, and after spending the last 3 days with it, this car is fantastic, especially for the money. It's got a $63,000 window sticker, which is a lot of money, of course, but by today's standards, for what you get, and with all the options this car has on it, this car is really a good buy.
Wow. I'll tell you, Jerry, to me, it just doesn't look, you look at it and you just don't see Cadillac.
No, and I think that was probably the plan, Dave. Cadillac wanted to lower the age of their average buyer, which used to be in the 60s, and they felt like that they needed to be, appealing to people in their 40s and 50s. And I think this car probably does that. I've had a lot of compliments on it this week. Everybody loves this blue color that it is. But just it's a very enjoyable car to drive. And I really kind of didn't expect that. This car took me a little bit by surprise.
So now, Jerry, something that I've heard you say a lot is that you essentially have 2 cars in one. Is that something that a lot of I think you said Mercedes has done some of that, BMW has done some of that, trying to make it where it appeals to both the casual driver and the person who's wanting to really take it out and really push it?
Yeah, I'm seeing more of that. And the difference is the drive modes. There was a long period of time where, you'd have sport mode and comfort mode and eco mode, and honestly, you couldn't tell the difference. And now I'm seeing a lot of separation. This car really, from the bottom drive mode to track, there is a huge difference. It changes the steering. It changes the way the transmission shifts. This car's got a 10-speed automatic transmission, and it's got shift paddles on the steering wheel. But I'll be honest with you, you cannot shift this car as efficiently as this 10-speed automatic.
You'd be pushing a lot of buttons getting 10 speeds there.
Oh, yeah, you would. And I'll tell you, this thing shifts in track mode. This thing shifts hard, and it shifts extremely fast.
Does it skip? Does it skip gears?
Yeah, up and down. It'll skip gears going up, and then as you start to decelerate, it'll skip gears going down too. And I always enjoy watching that because you expect the transmission to go from gear to gear to gear, and these electronic transmissions now will skip gears. It's really pretty cool.
Yeah. So and I like the color too. It's just the one thing that I've liked about the Cadillac Vs. It used to, I think CTS-V was about all they had. Now they're going to have a CT5-V and a CT6-V.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Anyway, the thing I like about them is they look like a standard Cadillac except for the little V on the back. But if you see one with a V on the back, you better know that thing's got some power.
Yes, it's a little bit of a sleeper, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, Jerry, do they still make the North Star engine?
Now, they dropped the North Star quite a number of years ago. And that was a love it or hate it engine. A lot of people loved that engine, and I think we all loved the performance. We just didn't love the durability of it. It gave a lot of people a lot of problems.
I bought a brand new sedan DeVille, it's a 1999 model, and it had that North Star. Now, that may have been the first year they came out. It hadn't been out that long. But that thing developed a leak, an oil leak. Take it to the mechanic, and he says, let it leak. He said, you have to pull the motor out. And he said, it's a $1,500 deal. And that was
common.
And it kind of went downhill from there. That was probably the finest car I ever owned, and I enjoyed it with all the bells and whistles. But mechanically, it was one of the worst cars I ever owned.
Yeah, Cadillac's history has had some failures. You might remember the 468 engine the Cadillac had that came in the DeVille in the 80s. That engine was horrible. It did lead to what we have today, which is cylinder displacement, where you go from 8 cylinders out in town to down to 4 out on the highway. And they've got that system down completely. Just about everybody is using that. General Motors uses it. Chrysler uses it in their Ram trucks. And it's seamless. You can't tell, unless you're looking at the gauge, you can't tell how many cylinders you're running on. But you're right, Dave. That North Star gave a lot of people a lot of problems.
Okay, Jerry.
I would never buy a Cadillac because of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Jerry, can you hold on another segment?
Sure.
We still need to talk about numbers coming in and a few other things on carprousa.com, and so I just don't have enough time. We got to take a quick break. This is News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We're going to go back to the phones with Car Pro Jerry Reynolds. Jerry, one of the things I've been reading is that we're going to have the second quarter numbers coming out. I thought they said this week, but I haven't seen any yet. Have you been seeing those numbers come in yet?
Which numbers, Matt?
The second quarter numbers?
Yeah, I've got them on the website.
Okay.
Overall, numbers were down second quarter about 30% from a year ago, which frankly was better than anybody suspected because of dealerships pretty much being shut down in all of April and part of May. But yeah, I gave you this week the top selling small and mid-sized luxury SUVs, which is the hottest segment out there. We saw very few cases of vehicles that sold more this year than they did a year ago in the second quarter, but there were a few exceptions. Mercedes had a couple of SUVs that sold more this year than they did last year. But overall, everybody was pretty pleased with the second quarter numbers. I think that the challenge will be this quarter because of inventory. Everybody is really short of inventory, and some car companies are in worse shape than others. For instance, if you go out today and you try to find a Toyota Tundra or a Toyota Tacoma, you're going to have real problems. And then if you start looking at pickups, Ford is very short in supply on their upper line trucks. Same thing with Ram. And then Chevy is probably almost in the same shape as Toyota is as far as inventory of Silverados go. 3/4 ton diesels right now are almost non-existent.
Yeah. So, Jerry, is this going to, I'm going to ask you to predict something. You may not be willing to do it, but is this going to raise the value of used cars? Is it going to be hard to get used cars if it's hard to get new cars?
It already has been. We see used car prices today that are sky high across the board. And the reason is simple. If the dealerships don't have new cars to sell, they've got to sell used cars. That's the only choice they have. And so they go out and they pay for them, and they overpay for them. Looking at auction prices, I've been watching the auctions for over 6 weeks now, and the amount of money that cars are bringing over the auction guide, which is called MMR at the Manheim Auctions, Manheim Market Report. That's real-time data of what cars are selling for. I've seen Toyotas sell for $6,000 and $7,000 over the MMR price, which I never thought I would see. It looked like yesterday prices had dropped slightly, but still very high. So the answer is yes.
So, I mean, you used to own a car dealership. Is this something that they can even make money off of, or are they just trying to keep things moving?
You know, I think they're just grasping for something to sell. I mean, they can't control what new car inventory comes in to the dealerships. They grab all they can, and they do their best, but at the end of the day, the factory controls that, and when plants are shut down, and especially with some automakers like Mazda, whose all their vehicles are made overseas, that adds 2 weeks to the time that it takes to get a vehicle to the dealerships. So, you know, dealers are pretty resilient as a whole. So when they can't get new inventory, they're going to go for used inventory. I think a lot of dealers are going to get bit because this market shot up when new cars started becoming short in supply. I think the used car market will drop as fast as it went up, and I'm afraid some dealers are going to get hung.
Yeah. All right, Jerry, do you have anything else on carprousa.com that you want to highlight?
J.D. Power appeal survey, and I don't pay a lot of attention to J.D. Power through the year. They do too many surveys, in my opinion. But this is one that I always do pay attention to, and it really just gauges how much people like their car. How attached are they to their car? And we had some surprises in there. Mazda did very well. Dodge did extremely well. And Porsche, which, no surprise, how do you not love a Porsche?
Right.
But Dodge and Mazda were they really scored well on this. And I've got the whole list right there at Car Pro USA.
All right, Jerry, just want to remind everyone you're on from 11 to 1 right here on News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO on Saturdays, and you'll be there this Saturday ready to go.
I will. Love to talk to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Jerry.
Good to talk to you, Jerry.